Yo guys, you know what time it is. It's the Champions League preview to Inter versus Barcelona. It's an all or nothing match. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock at the San Siro, we find out, are Inter in or are they out? Yes, just like last season against PSV, we have taken our Champions League qualification to the round of 16 to the last match. And once again, it is a must-win match. However, unlike last year, this time the tables are slightly turned. We are in the position that Spurs were last year in the group stage, whereas this time Dortmund are in the position we were last year. As my friend here, Inter Philly, explains well, Tottenham went through with the head-to-head goal difference on 8 points, and they ended up going to the final of the Champions League, whereas we got kicked out, went to the Europa League, and then got kicked out by Eintracht Frankfurt. But Spurs going to the final after just about edging through to the round of 16 is a good sign, right? That means Inter getting to the final, right? Just before I get into the preview, guys, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you. First of all, the most important news is Lionel Messi is out. To qualify, basically, we have to match Dortmund's result. Dortmund are playing Slavia Praha on the other side at the same time. And yeah, if they draw, we can draw. But I don't want any of that. It is a must-win match. There's no way that we can rely on Slavia Praha to do anything for us. They're already out. There's nothing in for them to play for. Dortmund have everything to play for. They'll go for the win. We have to go for the win. Yes, it's Barcelona, but the players have no excuses. No weak mentality like last year against PSV. That won't be accepted under Conte. Only a win is good enough. We can't rely on Slavia Praha. So let's take a look here at the table for Group F. And we can see Barcelona obviously already qualified with 11 points. And then we have Inter and Borussia Dortmund both on 7 points. But Inter have the better goal difference and we have the head-to-head advantage as well. As we can see, the defending Barcelona have the best defense in the group with only 3 goals conceded at an average of 0.60, 2 clean sheets. And Dortmund are second alongside Inter, but we only have 1 clean sheet. But we are the best attack in the group, surprisingly, with 9 goals. 1.8 averaging per match, and then closely followed by Barcelona. In terms of form, both teams are coming into this match on very good form. Inter, as we know, we're undergoing a very strong season, even though we've had all these injuries. But Inter in Europe have not been as strong as they are in the league, in the Serie A, whereas Barcelona are first in the La Liga and have recently picked up some really good form. And even some of the signings that have been criticised, like Griezmann, are starting to pick up form now. As you can see here, Barcelona in Europe this season are unbeaten. And the last match, they put Dortmund aside with a 3-1, very convincing win. Whereas Inter were coming from very up and down season up until now in Europe, starting off with a draw, then losing. Even though that first match, we all know that we played really, really well. Inter were probably the better team and definitely deserved at least a draw, but Barcelona punished us in that second half. We dropped off massively, and yeah, in these matches you can't drop off, and Barcelona will punish you as soon as Messi turns up a gear. When Vidal came onto the pitch, everything changed, whereas we didn't have those substitutes to bring on, and we won't have them again this time round. But that first match away at the Camp Nou was definitely a lot of positives to take from that. The way Inter played, the amount of chances we created, the goal Lautaro scored, the general confidence in the play, like playing away at the Camp Nou under a new coach back then. It was still quite fresh, the Antonio Conte style of play, and the way we played was really impressive. In terms of squad news, once again, as with every week almost, there's no good news. Asamoah, who just came back last week against Roma, has now suffered another injury to his knee apparently, so he's out. And it looks like Cubehead Biraghi will have to play, who has not been the most impressive player. He's failed to kind of hit those heights that he's hit with Fiorentina, especially going forward. That's what I expected from him, coming in. He's definitely an improvement on Dalbert for me, as I said in the past, but I'm expecting so much better from him in terms of deliveries with that left foot of his, and he just hasn't delivered yet. But tomorrow night is a very important night for him. It's pretty much guaranteed that we'll have to play, because on the other side, Candreva is also a big doubt. He has a small knock that he's picked up, and apparently will be left until the last minute to decide whether he's playing or not. So that means Valentino Lazzaro may have to come in as well. on that right wing. Lazaro came on the second half against Roma, had a bit of a shaky start, but then picked up things and created a lot of chances out on the other left-hand side. But he's definitely does his best work on that right-hand side, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he will be doing up against Junior Firpo. If Conte doesn't go for Lazaro, he could also opt for Danilo D'Ambrosio, of course, one of Conte's trusted men, quite rightly. But as I've said in the past, D'Ambrosio as a wing-back doesn't convince me. Especially in a match like this where I think Barcelona will have most of the ball, so we'll be counter-attacking. I think having some pace on the wings will be very vital, and Danilo's ball-carrying ability is not really that good. I always prefer him in that third centre-back position, and of course he's very useful to have when we have set pieces with his movement inside the box and his heading ability. But I would rather have Lazaro, I think, in this match in the wing-back position. And let's not forget the importance of this match, not just for progressing in the group stage. Of course, it's important for, the Inter club as a status, as a morale boost, but of course for the finance as well. This is what modern football is all about. And just advancing the group stage, as we can see here, is worth 9.5 million euros. And of course, on top of that, the bonuses for a win. And of course, the more you progress in the Champions League, the more you're financially rewarded. And that is so important at the moment, especially Inter just recently coming out of the financial fair play issues that we've had recently. The settlement agreement is really important that we increase our revenues, and the quickest way to do it is by advancing to the Champions League, because it is a really financially rewarding effort. And I'm sure the board will decide on a lot of decisions depending on our Champions League advancement, because if we go out at this stage and we go into the Europa League, the investment into the team won't be the same. It won't be the same level. We're targeting Kulusevski or De Paul or Arturo Vidal. These are guys that will require a certain amount of investment if they're not coming on loan, and that kind of investment won't be sanctioned by the board if the money's not coming in. But my predicted starting lineup is pretty much what we had against Roma, pretty much, especially at the back line. I think Godin, Skriniar, De Vrij will definitely be there. I don't see Bastoni being a surprise inclusion, or unless he opts for D'Ambrosio, but I think that will stay the same. In midfield, of course, Borja Valero, Vecino and Brozovic, but it will be interesting to see where Borja Valero and Brozovic play, because it was a surprise move that he moved Borja Valero up into the left centre mid position and left Brozovic at the regista role, which I wasn't expecting him to do. But Borja Valero didn't do too badly. But I'm unsure whether, the tempo of the match tomorrow, Borja Valero will be able to take being a left centre mid, because, that role requires a lot of up and down running, going wide as well, getting into the box. It's a very demanding role, but so is the defensive mid position. So I think Brozovic, he's too up and down when he plays outside of that position. So I think making him stick in that regista role is the best. As for Barcelona, as I said, Lionel Messi is out. He's not the only big player that's missing for them or being rested for them. Gerard Piqué is being rested. Ter Stegen is very likely to be rested. So that means that Neto will probably play in goal. Semedo is also likely to be rested alongside Jordi Alba. And so it will be a much changed lineup for them. As you can see here in the predicted lineups, we have Neto, Wague, Umtiti, Todibo, and the back line. And Todibo, a young centre-back. I think Lukaku should be targeting him because he's playing on his side, targeting him, try to use his physicality and his experience against him. That midfield of Vidal, Rakitic and Alenya, is a second string midfield for them, but damn, it's still a good midfield, and I still see them pretty much dominating the midfield battle and having most of the possession. Up front, hopefully Luis Suarez, who is in the squad, hopefully won't play. Griezmann probably will be adopted in that false nine role where he's allowed to roam. Yes, Griezmann's not really hit those heights yet for Barcelona since his move, but in that false nine position where he's allowed to roam, he's better suited to that position than the left wing position that he's been playing in most of the season. And let's not forget the two matches that we have lost this season is where there's been no sort of point of reference, more false nine type of players, like against Dortmund, where Julian Brandt was kind of doing that false nine role, and then against Juventus, Ronaldo and Dybala, both of them were just not inside the box most of the time, doing most of the work outside of the box. And I think our defenders, who are very much man mark, old school type defenders, don't really like, being moved around so much, and that can cause our backline a lot of trouble. As I said, no matter who they play, they will have possession, so we have to be disciplined and ready to hit them on the counter-attack, similar to how we played against Roma. This team, without our key players like Sensi and Barella, we can't really play on the front foot aggressively. We have to wait for the opposition and try to hit them on the counter, and that means we have to be clinical. Not like how we played against Roma, where we had bags of chances and we just couldn't finish. They have nothing to play for, so I'm not expecting a top-class performance from them. But again, when the team is free of pressure, no expectation on them, and you have a lot of young, fearless players on the field, things can, magic can happen sometimes, and that could happen tomorrow with Barcelona. So let's not underestimate them, even though it's a second string team. But as I said, the players have no excuses. If they fall under the pressure again, like last year, shows that, it's just a mentality thing, and I hope Antonio Conte, and I have faith in Antonio Conte to eradicate those mentality issues out of them. I saw in the pre-match today that Antonio Conte requested for the big screen in the stadium not to have the score of the Dortmund match shown there, so the players are not distracted. And yeah, it shows, I think Antonio Conte knows as well that these guys, if they see that Dortmund, are losing or drawing, then they'll start to drop off maybe. And no, they're not allowed to drop off at any point, not 1%. And at some point, maybe the San Siro, when if the match continues to be at 0-0, 1-1, or even if we're losing, if it starts to, being San Siro crowd where it's very demanding, and maybe you start to hear a few mumbles and boos. I don't want to hear no boos like we did against Roma. As Antonio Conte said, those people that are booing, they don't want the best for Inter. That's not what the players need. They need the full backing of our support, of our supporters, our tifosi interisti, who are some of the best supporters in the world, without a doubt. And I'm sure they will be behind the team. We will be behind the team. Wherever we're watching from, I'll be watching here from Leicester, supporting the boys. I'm confident for a win. I'm predicting a 2-1 win from the boys and taking us through to the next stage. Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Who will score? What do you think the score will be? Are you confident Inter going to bring it home? And obviously leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you tomorrow for the post-match. Ciao.